people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
Welcome to the best soccer show, the best soccer show in the whole world.
Here we go, boys and girls. We are live. It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV, NASNradio.com. Jason Davis and Jared Dubois with you, as we are every Wednesday night. We're going to take your phone calls. We're going to talk about the Red Bulls. We're going to talk about Sounders filling up the place. We're going to talk to John Godfrey, of the New York Times Goal Blog, who's got an excellent announcement about our new website. He's going to talk about that. Jared and I are here. We're up against the debate, Jared. We're up against soccer. There's a game happening starting right now. We'll have to check on that score later, but we're up against the debate. Can we compete with Romney and Barack Obama? Can we compete with those guys?
In an attempt to compete, you can see I've let my hair grow out a little bit. I got a little bit of a Romney kind of poof thing going on.
You do have a little bit of the coif of the politician coif.
It's a very white boy look. It's a very white guy look. I mean, I could get into a country club right now.
Yes, you do look well. I don't know. You're not wearing a collared shirt, and it's
I would like pimp it up a little bit.
I don't know. You'd have to have a blazer or a collar and a collared shirt, probably some slacks, maybe some loafers of some type.
No socks and loafers.
I don't know. That's you get into dangerous territory when you go loafers, no socks.
Word for Don Johnson, son.
Yeah. All right. Phone lines are open, 201-430-2378. As always, we get your calls on anything you want to talk about tonight. There is, like I said, there's shakeup in the Red Bull front office. If you're a Red Bull fan, if you have thoughts on that, it's interesting. We're going to get into that in a second. The New England Revolution, a couple of different developments on their stadium situation, Jared. Now, we'll address whether or not it means anything, but I think it's interesting that all of this chatter is bubbling up right at the same time. A couple other things on the docket. Like I said, the Sounders filling up the place. Charlie Davies reaches a settlement on his civil suit, kind of bringing an end to all of that sad chapter of Charlie Davies.
Do you want to know the money, or is it better? Is it better for Charlie Davies if the settlement amount doesn't come out?
No, it's better than nobody knows how much it is.
I think it gets swept under the rug, and everyone can kind of move on if it is the way it is now, right?
What was he originally suing for? Was it like
millions? 20? I don't remember what it was.
It was definitely a good amount of money. I think it was north of $20 million. So you imagine a settlement significantly less, but if it's in the millions, that doesn't make people were not happy that Charlie sued in the first place. But at the top of the show, I think we've got to talk about the Red Bulls. Like I said, there's
talk about your birthday.
Oh God, do we have to?
It's happy birthday to Jason Davis Day. You got to come on. If you're not going to recognize it, I will. Happy birthday to Mr. Jason Davis on his birthday, coming on the show and doing a show on his day, the one day of the year where he can get his wife to do anything that he wants. He chooses to be with us.
Oh, well, actually, I have a little better hand than that. I can get some things on some other days. I get a couple of days.
You've got some skills.
I got some pull. I also wanted to. It's also happens to be Greg Roach's birthday. He does Pitch Pass and the Capital Soccer Show for DC United. Excellent guy. Follow him on Twitter, Pitch Pass, and listen to his show. But it's his birthday. Found out as I was getting ready to leave work today. It's like the greatest day in the world. It's 10/3. It's my birthday.
So on February 12th, we need to do a show where we have Jimmy Conrad come on. He and I can share our birthday together on the show.
Absolutely. Sure. If Jimmy Conrad's your boy, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has my birthday. It's
see now why you gotta do me up one? Why you gotta one up me like that?
Okay, well I don't know. See, and I bet if we got him on the show, Jimmy might argue that.
I love that we just throw that out casually. If we got Zlatan Ibrahimovic on the show,
no. I said if we have Jimmy on the show.
Oh, there's Jimmy. Okay,
we desperately need to have Jimmy Conrad on the show. I just watched his little interview with Adam Richman from Man vs. Food, and he's got a new show called The Best Sandwich in America or something. Talking about soccer, Adam Richman, a big soccer guy, a Tottenham guy, a Red Bulls guy. It was a very interesting little conversation. It's Jimmy Conrad's All-American Soccer Spectacular. It's out. It's it's over the top. Jimmy Conrad. It's an excellent little video segment you should watch. And we've been trying to get Adam Richman on this show for a long time.
Jimmy Conrad did the interview we've been trying to do for a while.
Right, but he did it in Jimmy Conrad style. I don't think we could
very well.
We would have done a fine job. I have no doubts about that. But it wouldn't have been a Jimmy Conrad interview. Anyway, go check that out on Kick TV. Let's talk about Red Bulls. Let's talk about Eric Soler being demoted. Is what I'm seeing. Drop down to an advisory role. They bring in Jérôme de Bontan. I'm going to say it French and then I'll stop doing that. Who is formerly of Monaco. Brought in Freddie Adu to Monaco. He was that guy.
Yeah, that was the number one thing I thought of. It's like, ooh, Red Bulls brought in the guy that saw something in Freddie Adu.
Well, I think, I mean, obviously he's got American connections. Let's run down his bio really quickly because I'm not sure most people know this. I mean, you hear the name, you think foreign guy. Gerard Houllier, who former Aston Villa manager, former manager in England, a lot of different places, is the sporting director or whatever for the entire Red Bull.
He's the Chivas Cruyff of New York Red Bulls.
Sure, but it's Red Bull Austria or whatever that team is, and the whole Red Bull soccer family. They've got a couple of different operations around the world, so he's in charge of all of that. And then this de Bontan will come in and took over Soler's job. De Bontan studied in the U.S., graduated from Amherst. Mostly a finance guy. His thing at Monaco was cutting their expenses and saving them a lot of money, which I think was part of the American thing. It wasn't
is there a more un-Monaco thing you could do than cut expenses?
Yes, right. No, what you do if you run the Monaco soccer team, the Monaco Football Club, and you're down to like you got nothing, you're down to the felt, you don't have a lot of money, you take your last chip. You go put it on like 22 black and you just let it ride.
I think the team should play in tuxedos.
Yes. Oh, that'd be absolutely brilliant. He's on the U.S. Soccer Board of Trustees, director at Monaco in 2002. They named him president in 2008, resigned in 2009. So, and he's got some American chops. This isn't a clueless guy coming into the MLS environment, no idea what he's doing. The question, I think, for outsiders and Red Bull fans who might be confused, they're playing well. They're headed to the playoffs. Thierry Henry's on fire. They've got a lot of things going for them. And whether or not you want to put that on Eric Soler's shoulders and say he did a good job, it's an odd time to drop him. It's weird.
Here's the thing. If you're going to make a move on Soler, you would think you either would have done it last offseason where everyone was hating on Red Bull and hating on Bach and all the choices being made and everything was up in arms, or you'd wait till after the end of this postseason. You're talking 3 games before you go into your postseason right now. Right. You're going to make a big switch at that level. I don't get it myself either. It's really weird. It's almost as odd as was it to Philly? Remember when Novak when they got rid of Novak? It was just after they let him make a few trades and a couple moves. Right. It's just odd timing on this kind of thing.
Absolutely, it's very, very strange timing. And if you're Hans Backe, what are you thinking? Hans Backe was Soler's guy, as far as I know.
That's his boy.
So if you're Hans Backe, you've managed to cling with your fingernails onto this job for the better for 2.5 years after several times being in serious jeopardy of losing it.
And reinvented himself. Hans Backe is in a way reinvented himself and his coaching style with New York. And you got to think that he's kind of he's molded to the pressure that was around him and learning how to coach in MLS. Not to say that he doesn't know how to coach, but coaching MLS is inherently different than a lot of other leagues. Yep. And so he's actually done very well. They've brought in more star talent, which is Soler's picks for who to bring in and big soccer talent. You just let him bring in Cahill in the offseason. You know, there's big moves that Soler's made this last year. If you're going to make this, I just don't get it unless Soler wants to step back.
Well, I wonder if those moves are also. I mean, it's a multi-tiered organization, and like I said, Houllier is overseeing this big soccer empire across the globe. Who knows how much impact Soler really had in the Cahill signing, or any of these names, any of those guys. I mean, I think the Scandinavian connection, that's partly on Soler. That's probably a lot to do with Soler after he brings in Backe, but. You know, it's one of those things. It's very tough to tell with a team owned by a conglomerate spread across the globe, main offices in Austria, whether or not it's on the ground, they're making the decisions, they're making the team go, or if it was somebody else pulling strings up higher. So we'll have to see how this plays out. I think de Bontan is a decent choice considering his background. I just question the timing.
I think it's the right move if you think about where Red Bull wants to be. They want to be an elite team in MLS, if not on the global brand scale. And you have a guy in here who's managed one of the big name teams in the world in Monaco. And not only that, though, you found a way to kind of adapt an American kind of a theme in it too. A guy who's familiar with America, the American play, the American style. He's part of U.S. soccer. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's a nice marriage. It's what a lot of people think about, like initially with the Klinsmann, with Jurgen Klinsmann at the U.S. national team level. You try to find these guys that can bring European continental thinking with an American kind of background. It's kind of marrying both worlds.
No, I absolutely agree with you on that. And like I said, we'll have to see how it plans out, whether or not it unsettles Baca and the team heading down the stretch into the playoffs. Just when they seem to be on a kind of on a high, they are a roller coaster team, but they obviously have the talent to challenge for an MLS Cup. See how that plays out. The other big news, kind of off the field news, is all of this talk about the New England Revolution stadium situation. Now, obviously, everybody knows Foxborough is terrible. Nobody wants them to be in Foxborough. Everybody wants them to get out. Questionable whether or not the Crafts are really putting in a lot of effort to go find a new spot to build a stadium. There's been talk in the past about Somerville, which is north of Boston, across the Charles River. Now, all of a sudden, pops up this story about Revere, which is further north, a little bit kind of northeast of Boston, if you want to say it that way, north of the airport is how we'll say it. And this location called Wonderland, and the mayor of Revere sticking his nose in this and saying, we want the Revs to come play here. Now, let me just say, full disclosure, I spent a little bit of time in Boston. It's been a long time. I'm not super familiar, but I remember some things. Our producer, Trevor, spent a lot of time in Boston, knows Boston pretty well. Very, very against the idea of Revere for the New England Revolution. And this is the only thing I'll say, Jared. There comes a time, though, for every MLS team, there comes a time when they have to make a decision about a stadium, right? You have one chance to do this. You got one shot. And unless you want to, they're going to wait 30 years to build another one or expand or whatever. One shot to do it. You got to do it right. You have to be positive. If this is the right move. You don't want to pull an FC Dallas. You don't, no matter what the community offers you, you don't want to go out to Frisco and be so far removed from the center of your fan base that it just destroys any momentum you might have had in that market. And the Revs have to be careful here. Foxborough's out there. Foxborough's bad. They're never going to draw great crowds, and they're never going to fill up that stadium, and it's turf and it's terrible. But is Revere really that much better? Is Revere?
Well, here's another part of it. Technically there's 3 teams with a soccer specific stadium. Seattle being one of them. I think we'll throw Seattle out. They get plenty of. Let's not talk about Seattle. They get plenty of people in there. Their stadium, while it's not a soccer specific stadium, they're doing well. You have DC and you have New England. You don't want to be the last team without one, do you? Is that going to put added pressure on the New England franchise that they don't want to be the last team out there without one?
I don't know that that's really a concern, whether or not you're last. You want to get it right. I think it's more important to get it right than to be last or not be last. I just think they have to be sure, because you can't go spend $90 million or whatever it's going to cost to build the stadium and then go, oops, this is the wrong spot. We're only drawing 8, 9, 10,000 people a match. We really should have been in Somerville, which is still on the table. And they're talking about new options in Somerville, or we should have waited and held on. And I don't know. I'm just concerned that you take the first offer that comes along. You take the after you've been waiting so long to get out of Foxborough, at least for the fans' perspective, you take the first offer that comes along. When the mayor steps up and says we want to make this happen, and you build it in the middle of an industrial park and nobody comes, and that's the worst case scenario. It reminds me. Everyone has that friend that marries the first girl that's willing to have sex with them. Like. Yes. Like, he's like, dude, I know you're desperate. I know you hadn't had much for loving and much for success with the ladies, but you don't have to put a ring on it just because she said yes. No, I absolutely agree. All right, we're tight tonight. Got to get to John Godfrey at 9, so we're going to be going short breaks. Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network at ESN.TV. Don't go anywhere.
I'm Garrett Cleverly, co-host of MLS in 30 with John Arnold. Check us out every Tuesday and Friday as we break down the latest in MLS. We bring in the best beat writers throughout the nation, the guys that know the teams better than the teams know themselves. We also go over the best blank of the week and best blank of the weekends, and we break down the latest hot gossip, which is usually just typical MLS news. Check us out every Tuesday and Friday, only on NASN Radio. Now back to more NASN programming.
Soccer Made in Portland airs Tuesdays and Fridays on the North American Soccer Network.
Get your weekly Portland Timbers fix with interviews, analysis, and the latest team news with Kelly McLean and Michael Orr.
Every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, we'll break down the previous weekend's game.
And then again on Friday afternoons, join us at 3:30 p.m. Pacific for the last word before the game as we preview the Timbers' upcoming opponent, including interviews with some of the best soccer journalists from around the country.
That's Soccer Made in Portland, live twice a week at NASN.TV.
Jason Davis, Jared Dubois, back on the Best Soccer Show, North American Soccer Network, NASNradio.com, streaming American soccer content. It's fantastic. Jack McInerney has scored to put the Philadelphia Union up over the Chicago Fire. Didn't they just play? Didn't they just play? This schedule thing is so weird. They just played.
I don't remember.
Like 2 weeks ago, they just played. Maybe I'm remembering.
Here's the thing, Jack McInerney. I mean, he scores a nice, gets free, but really the Chicago back four really kind of messes this one up. Center back steps out to the central midfielder. No one covers the space in behind the center back. Andy Bobbitt fails to kind of move over and grab McInerney. McInerney gets free on a really nice through ball. I mean, it's really bad rotation by the back four of Chicago.
How do you feel about Jack Mack? I run hot and cold with the kid. I think he's got talent.
First of all, he's like a mini me of Wijnaldum. The guy looks like Wijnaldum circa 93.
Yes, no, the short haircut. Yes, yeah.
Okay, and outside of that, I don't know. Part of me thinks that the guy's done really well. Obviously, the expectations are lower because he's such a young guy. Expectations are lower because he's playing on Philly. But it's hard to gauge him because I don't know if maybe he's not scoring as much as he would on another team because he lacks the service and the veteran kind of presence on the field. If you put him on, let's say, I don't know, if you put him on a Chicago Fire, for instance, maybe this guy does a little bit better on a Chicago Fire team. I don't know right now. I feel like I analyzed McInerney in a vacuum as long as he's with Philly.
I had Ivis Gellerstep at Soccer by Ivis put up a cool little YouTube video that showed all of Freddie Adu's assists that could have been, all of the great passes and good crosses that Freddie Adu has produced for the Union this year that were not finished by a slew of forwards for the Philadelphia Union. Jack McInerney is in that group. And I think if he finishes a little bit better, that he can, he's going to be one of those guys that we talk about, I don't know. I mean, he could be Justin Braun and then maybe have a chance to go beyond Justin Braun, who just kind of stopped all of a sudden due to concussions and being traded and that kind of thing. But there's a spot there, the Will Bruin spot. He's not there yet, but I
totally see where you're coming from. He can be that I would say that I want to say A-level striker in MLS, but that good B-level striker that is on the fringe of breaking out. He could be that guy.
Certainly in the young American striker A-level group, and Will Bruin's at the top of that list right now. Will Bruin's only 22 years old. Is that right? So
I believe so. And McInerney's 20 right now, I believe.
20 or something like that. I mean, he's still, and this is where we actually get to say he's still young, and it actually means something. He is young. Yeah. 20. He's been a pro for a year or a year and a half or whatever it is. It's not the Jared Dubois rule where we call them young, but they're not in world soccer terms. He is young, and he's getting playing time, and that's the most important thing is getting playing time. Makes me think of Bright DK. Okay, Bright DK comes out of Notre Dame. Reasonably well-respected player coming out of college, thought that he had an MLS future, goes to the Portland Timber. Actually, he got cut by Columbus. Is that what happened? Cut by Columbus, picked up by the Timbers in the second division. So he didn't work out in Columbus, goes to the second division, comes up to the MLS with them, never plays, never sees the field, doesn't get a chance.
Saw a little bit of run last season, didn't get much out of it. This year gets a second opportunity and has really kind of grabbed hold of it.
Right, but they sent him on loan to the is it the LA Blues
the LA Blues, playing out of Fullerton.
Team down there in Southern California. It got a little bit now. It's USL Pro or whatever it is. It's third division, but it's getting it in playing time.
It's an MLS boneyard is what it is. If you go look at the LA Blues, it's a bunch of guys you remember from MLS. I'm not kidding you. That's what it is. But credit to them. That's good stuff.
And it's good preparation, and it just kind of brings back the focus to the idea that American kids, young kids, doesn't matter if they're American or not, if they're coming through college or the academies, if they're not going to get playing time at the MLS level, they're going to be on rosters and sitting there and rotting. It doesn't do them any good. They've got to be playing. We've got to work out a situation where these kids either get loans or there's some other mechanism for getting the playing time.
Interesting segue into what we kind of wanted to talk about young kids trying to make it. And one thing that I kind of put out there on Twitter last night, I don't know, did you watch the ESPN 30 for 30 broke last night?
I did not. I didn't have a chance. I heard it was excellent. I mean, obviously, I know what the subject matter is. All of these professional athletes make millions of dollars and below it.
Was really good. Yeah, it's really good. And as I'm watching it, I'm just thinking how it is a complete polar opposite of what MLS athletes go through, and whereas you have all this money and then you have nothing left for the show for at the end. And I put out there, on Twitter, I put out, what would an MLS version of 30 on 30 broke look like? And I think of all the different responses I got, I think I'd like Travis Clark's the most, and I'm going to paraphrase it and kind of say it my own way, but the kind of what I got from him is that it's, instead of watching what a bunch of guys go broke after achieving their dream, the MLS version would be a bunch of guys that are broke while trying to strive to achieve their dream.
Exactly. It's almost in reverse. The MLS dynamic isn't make millions of dollars, go blow it on parties with your boys and going to Vegas and whatever it is, and buying houses and cars. It's the exact opposite. It's break into professional soccer, making $30,000 a year, live with 3 other guys, eat ramen every day, go and do camps to make some extra scratch. I mean, all of those things, scratching, fighting by to make it while you're playing professional soccer. And it's, it's one of those things that continues to hamper the popularity of MLS because we have a nation of jaded people when it comes to sports. We watch sports and we see all of these athletes who are millionaires, and we go, that's what an athlete's supposed to be. He's supposed to be really fast and really strong and really athletic, and he's got millions of dollars and drives a Bentley. But then we come and look at MLS, and there's these kids and Alan Gordon living on the beach with 2 other guys, and they're not making any money. And
it's a double-edged sword as far as I can see, because on the one hand, because the athletes aren't making that kind of money, aren't disconnected, it makes it easy to root for the MLS player. It makes it easy to invest in that type of mentality, and it makes them approachable. I mean, how many people out there listening to this show right now have probably pressed the flesh from an MLS player at some point after a game or waiting for an autograph, and they're more accessible because of it. But on the flip side, like you're alluding to, it gives an air of I want to say unprofessional. It gives an air of of minor league, because they don't have the bling chains and all that kind of stuff going on, the big rides with the big wheels. There's a disconnect there. I think the truth is going to be somewhere in the middle. I don't think MLS needs to get to the point where you have guys buying ice and stuff all over the place, but it needs to get to the point where they look respectable.
Well, sure, and there are guys who are making are in the top 1%. A lot of guys in MLS in the top 1%.
Oh, Eddie Johnson owns a chain.
Yeah, but you're right. It's we'll find a happy medium. And the thing about soccer, unless you're playing on the Real Madrid, Manchester United, Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo level, unless you're playing on that level, you're not going to make that. You're not going to make millions.
There's where the disconnect is too. There's where the disconnect is, because we know that the youth of America are watching more soccer than ever, but they're watching that soccer.
Right.
And they see those guys with all the big shoe deals, all the big sponsorships, and all the big money and flashy cars, and then they go to an MLS game and they see the guy showing up in a Camry.
Yes. No. I. It's very strange, because 50 years ago, it was a good thing to have the players living in your neighborhood. 50, 60, 70 years ago, a good things to have the players living in your neighborhood, going to the same grocery stores, regular guys, off-season jobs. This was, I actually wrote a thing about this phenomenon, MLS players being approachable, being the guy around the corner, versus and comparing them to like the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 50s, when all those guys lived in the same neighborhoods as the fans, and they'd see them in the grocery stores, and they, like you said, they'd shake their hands walking down the street. Whereas now, and MLS players are like that now, whereas the general professional athlete, the big time professional athlete, the NFL athlete, the NBA athlete, they're completely inaccessible. You're never going to see them unless it's a tightly controlled public appearance. And when those guys
or a strip club.
Or a strip club. And when those guys go out to the bar or the club, where they get in a back room and they're getting bottle service, and they're not hanging out. They're not going to have a beer at the bar with the guy. But if you go to Columbus, and you go to the right spot, you're almost guaranteed to see 1 or 2 crew players running around, just because well, definitely Frankie Haydu, but having Chris Burchell and all of these guys. It's just, and is that better or worse? Does it hampers MLS because we have this weird jaded thing about professional sports, but at the same time, we don't really want to lose that as MLS fans now. We're going to be here. We're going to, in 30, 40 years, Jared, we're going to be those guys saying, hey, I remember when you could go down to the field and lean over and the players would come right up to you and talk to you and spend an hour signing autographs. Now, look at them. They're all rich and they run off. And we're going to hate it. Our kids aren't going to know any better.
You're never going to make us happy. You're never going to make us happy.
The phone lines are open, 201-430-2378. If you've got anything in the last couple minutes of this segment, I did want to touch on also Aron Johannsson, the Icelandic American player who's leading the Danish Superliga in scoring, is apparently no longer an American possibility. Got called up by Iceland for qualifiers. I don't know. I saw that he was Brian Sciaretta reported he was called up, but I don't expect he would turn it down. And the story is that his parents were going to college in Mobile, Alabama. That's where he was born. They went back to Iceland, fairly quickly. This is the Breed Hangeland situation, Jared.
Yeah.
If you're gonna don't be upset about losing Aron Johannsson, just like you weren't upset about losing Breed Hangeland. So it's not
if you put it on the hierarchy of players that are missed out, it's definitely way below Neven Subotic and Giuseppe Rossi. I mean, it was where American system failed in a few ways with those players, maybe to get them fully invested in the American program. Johannsson was always going to be is a guy that came out of nowhere that all of a sudden was on our radar, but was going to take a long time to break into this. He's playing in a league that's not one of the top tiers of football in England, and Alexi's going to kill me. I just dropped the F-bomb. and Lexi's going to kill me.
He's in Denmark. What do you what? You just dropped
I said football on the last show, and Alexi Lalas gave me crap for saying football. So I dropped the F-bomb again on this one. But I was talking about European soccer, so it's okay then, right?
So I don't know. But anyway, look, it's not here's the thing. You want to know the truth? I heard about him. Heard he was leading the Danish Superliga in goals. Was reasonably interested, reasonably intrigued. And yeah, Denmark's got a decent league. Don't poo Denmark's league.
But what I'm saying, 3 of his goals came. A good chunk of his goals came in one game, where a few of them were tap-ins.
You downplay his goals. I never even watched 1 second of his highlights. I didn't even watch because it didn't seem occur to me that it was important to go watch this kid who might or might not be an American international one day. It just didn't see. So I'm actually kind of vindicated in not wasting the time to go watch Aron Johannsson score a couple goals that you say were tap-ins, because it doesn't matter, because he's not going to play for us. He'll play for Iceland. Gonna go and try to get to.
It's the question a lot of these same German players have to ask themselves, except that in Germany it's gonna be really tough to break into the team. In Iceland, he can probably get a pretty fast route to the national team in Iceland, even though I know Trevor tells me Iceland's the new hipster club of Europe. I know that, okay? But it's going to be a tougher road to break into the U.S. team. But if he gets into it, his chances of making a World Cup are going to be a lot better with the U.S., right?
We have people bad mouthing or putting down the leading goal scorer in Europe, period, and in the Dutch Eredivisie. They're saying he shouldn't be an automatic starter for the Americans. How is Aron Johannsson going to be first choice if Josie Altidore is not automatic first choice? Look, do we need strikers? Always need strikers. But I'm just not going to shed any tears over losing Aron Johannsson here. And
what I'll say is,
go ahead. Well, I was going to say that there's another guy leading another league in goals that if you wanted to shed some tears, maybe it might slightly be worth it. Yura Movsisyan is leading the Russian Premier League in scoring at somebody Krasnodar. Is that right? So, and we only missed out on Yura because he wasn't going to sit around and wait for his citizenship until he was 26 or whatever.
I feel that was a bigger loss for the U.S. because he was right in front of us. We all saw the talent that was there. It was just, and it's his choice. The U.S. didn't mess up when it comes to Yura Movsisyan. He chose to pursue other dreams.
He would have loved to have played for the U.S. if it had worked out a little bit better and things were going to move a little bit quicker. And we still got guys we're waiting on to see if that happens. Here, Darlington Nagbe is one of them. I mean, nobody's on Danny Mwanga anymore, but
not anymore. No.
All right, it's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NASN.TV, NASNradio.com. When we come back, John Godfrey, New York Times Goal Blog, founder of American Soccer Now, going to talk about it. Very excited. Don't go anywhere, guys.
I said, well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to create a site that I think that fans, U.S. soccer fans, hashtag USMNT fans are going to want to check first thing in the morning, 5 times during the day, and the last thing before they go to bed. And that's what we set out to do with AmericanSoccerNow.com.
So,
but
go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry, Gary.
It's funny, John. Like the way you talk about the site and the want for it, the need for it, the place, the hole that's empty in the U.S. soccer landscape. It's really similar to how Jason and I felt about why we started this show, and why Trevor is starting an ASN Radio. They're kindred spirits, if you think about it, about how the U.S. soccer landscape is being made by the people. If the media is not going to do it for us, we're going to make it ourselves, right, John?
That's absolutely right. I mean, when I'm trying to explain this to my mom, and she's like, "Oh, well, why are you doing this? Why do you care?" I said, "Well, Eleanor, the MLS doesn't even get any time on SportsCenter.
Right.
The U.S. national team will get 15 seconds maybe, or usually they only get some coverage in the mainstream media when something goes wrong or there's a riot." And it's like, you know what? I think people like us are and were sick of being treated like a second-class citizen of sports fan. So I just said, you know what, let's screw that. Let's grab it and do it right. And I think your show is a perfect reflection of that. And I'm hopeful that people will think the site that I've created is going to do that as well.
Okay, so John, give me and the listeners, give us an idea what the focus is. I mean, what is American Soccer Now going to be about? If you describe it in 30 words, what is it?
Wow.
Well,
American Soccer Now. No, I can do that.
Okay.
American Soccer Now is a U.S. soccer obsessed, highly interactive, strongly editorial, and beautifully designed website, created to help soccer fans have a place to go to read great content, and more importantly, interact with great content. We are HTML5 based, and we've got a tremendous number of interactive modules that we think people are going to go crazy for, to not just sort of sit back and consume content that someone else created, but to become the author of the content and really interact with the U.S. soccer experience and just be immersed in it. So that's what we're trying to do, and people will let us know if we did a good job of it.
Way more than 30 minutes, but that was good. Okay.
Yeah, now Jason and I, like I said, we've seen it. We've seen the site. We've been to it. Let's get on to brass tacks, John. What are the features? You have ASN 100. You have the questionnaire. Tell us about some of the features on the site and what it entails.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't want to give short shrift to the basics. Everything that you have in a WordPress typepad blog, we have there. We have basic polls. We have great articles from writers like Noah Davis, my deputy editor. I'm going to be writing a lot. We have a great crew of writers helping out, but we try to take it. That's just sort of the baseline. That's sort of like you have to have that. With something like ASN 100, what we did is recruit 10 soccer experts, including Alexi Lawless, Taylor Twellman, Grant Wall, Brian Sciaretta, to rank the best U.S. players from 1 to 100. So we took those 10. Oh, by the way, these guys I know, Jared and Jason, also voted on that.
Let me say this. This task is way, way harder than it sounds. All these American soccer fans go, I could do that in my sleep. Ranking these guys 1 to 1. No. This is tough.
You can rank 1 to 50 easily.
Like, is it Andrew Wooten or Tony Beltran? It's like It's very difficult. But the idea was like to get something that's not about me. It's not Soccer by John. It's American Soccer Now. It's a big thing, and a lot of voices. And in this American Soccer Now 100, the ASN 100, we've got something that I think is exciting, because we have a ranking of the best U.S. players from 1 to 100. And, just that list alone, I think, is compelling, but that's just a starting point. What we do is, through HTML5 and frankly, I'm proud of the design and the technology behind the site. It's all custom built. This is not a WordPress blog. You can click through all these different filters and reassemble the ASN 100 based on, position. You can just check and see who the best players are by position, midfield, goalkeeper, whatever. Or you can see who has the most assists in national team games by clicking on a little tab, and the visual list reconfigures right in front of you. I don't know how to describe it. You just sort of have to go and check it out. But a lot of people want to play with it, and I've had a lot of positive feedback.
It's absolutely stunning. Like I said, it's live now. By the way, I went and checked it out. It is live right now, John. Right?
Well, what I thought I'd do for your fans, the official opening is tomorrow, but for Best Soccer Show listeners, viewers, I thought, you know what, we'll unlock the door right before I go on live, so that the people who are going to, follow you guys and listen to you guys and listen to interview, they can go on first before the rest. So yes, the word is out. As of right this moment, the site is live.
Yeah, nobody else, just our listeners. This is super secret, guys. This is a sneak peek, courtesy of John. Thank you very much for making it available to our listeners. You guys are going to have a blast with this. You go check it out. Just like John said, there's going to be a lot of other content, but just the ASN 100, which, like he said, Jared and I helped figure out all of these various sortable categories. Right now, I just clicked on it to sort it by caps. Obviously, Donovan Bocanegra, Beasley, Dempsey. I mean, it's pictures of all the guys, and it reconfigures, as he said. As soon as you click a sortable category, it's going to reconfigure the headshots of these guys into the ranking. It's stunning stuff. I mean, it's at the basic level, it's excellent information. But when it looks good too, and it feels professional, well done, feels big time, John. This is a big time website. I congratulate you. I know you didn't design it yourself, but everything that you put into it, whoever you did have design, it's absolutely stunning.
Well, I designed it on a napkin and handed it to somebody. It absolutely is a collective vision. My creative director, Florian Bacleda, is the creative director of Fast Company and FastCompany.com. He's one of my dearest friends, and we've been great friends for a decade. And he and I started this with, a beer-fueled conversation one day. I said, I want to do this. And he started scribbling, and I started scribbling back. And here we are. It actually surpasses the vision we had in that bar that one day when a few extra beers inspired us to do this. But I appreciate the kind words, and I do believe that the thing that differentiates us is we're going to have the great writing. I hope, I believe, but there's all this other stuff too, all this interactive stuff that will be there, even if it's a slow news day. There'll be 5 or 6 or 7 things to do, and that's just at launch. We have 15 more interactive elements that we're developing. We're definitely in it for the long haul. We believe in what Clint Dempsey told me the first time I met him. He said, "Go big or go home," and that's how we approach the site. And I hope it shows. I hope it's all there on the server.
John, when you talk about the interactive portion of this website, one of the things I enjoyed is you have a create your own starting 11, which it may not be absolutely novel. What I like about it is the fact you can share it. You can as soon as you're done making your best 11, you can share it on Facebook, Twitter, throw it out there. But on that, you see what other people's best are. I've already put one out there. You go on there, you can see a few other people starting 11s. You can see John Gottfried's starting 11 right now for the U.S. national team. What you would pick. You can see what I would pick. Travis Clark has one out there. It's really cool because you can see what all your different friends would put out there. You can see what your favorite bloggers, podcasters, writers, whatever. You can everyone can see where everyone's different head is at. And that kind of brings back to the now portion of American Soccer Now, because this is how you see the national team right now.
Yeah, it's awesome. It is. I'm sorry. I'm just looking at it now, and I got caught up. Give John a chance to respond there. Go ahead, John.
No, well, I'm your enthusiasm is why we did this. It's because we want fans who feel the same way, who don't have an outlet, who feel like, don't get the coverage that we need. I mean, Grant Wahl, he doesn't always get 7 pages in Sports Illustrated like he does this week, which, by the way, you got to read his Barcelona piece. But it's just the exception rather than the rule that soccer's in front and center. And I wanted to bring it in front and center. And this combined with Howler happening now, I think soccer's sort of having a moment in America, and I'm thrilled about it. And as far as the starting 11, I'm very proud of that. We built everything from the ground up. There's no this is all custom code, and I would see on websites, on blogs, like people would want to list what their starting 11 would look like, and they would do it by typing with a bunch of dashes, and it's like, well, that's such a suboptimal experience. Why not create a module that allows people to do that? So we invested the time and the money to do that, and I hope it blows up. I hope people just see that and go, I want to tell the world what my vision is for the game against Antigua on October 12th. Right. Share it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, put it on Pinterest, whatever. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I think and I hope it's going to be big.
Like, one quick question. We were just talking about Aron Johansson, the Icelandic-American striker that's playing in Denmark. Does he have to come off the ASN 100 next month? Because he's got called up by Iceland? Is more than likely going to play for them? He's got to come off, right?
Well, you know what? Noah Davis, my deputy editor, a great guy and a really good writer-editor, is working on that story right now. He texted me right before it came on when we saw that, and we're like, okay, we have to make that adjustment. If he's no longer available, then he's off the ASN 100 ranking. But then again, I have to look at it closely. I think he might be under 23. You know, we'll get it right. But yeah, the idea is the ASN 100 is, and this, you know, it's American soccer now. We're going to do it every 30 days. Every first of the month, there'll be a new ranking, so that it's American soccer now. It's like, who is it now? Now, when Stuart Holden comes off the DL for the last 12 years or whatever it is, he you know, and he starts to play well for Bolton, as I hope and expect. I bet he moves up from number 30 into the top 15 or maybe even the top 10. So it's a living, breathing entity, and I think the site is as well. And I want people to not treat it as something that they respond to. Like, here, we're talking at you and you respond, but you're part of the conversation. And going forward, we're going to have a way for followers and fans to actually be part of the ASN 100 voting process.
All right, so I want to take you to task on one of the features here on American Soccer Now. All right, so you've got infographics, right? And you've got a matrix, and it's for your for people's opinions on Jurgen Klinsmann. You know, at the top, you've got great tactician. At the bottom, you've got poor tactician. Left, wrong players. Right, excellent managers. The X and Y axis is here. You basically pick your spot between, you know, figure out what you think is a poor tactician, a great tactician, and his player choices. I'm right. I went ahead and did mine after I saw yours. I'm right. I'm closer to. I'm like halfway between the center point and poor tactician, and I'm
looking at yours right now.
All right, so I'm a little. I don't know how you would describe it. It's like 12, negative 20, or something like that. You're way over towards the end of the matrix on excellent roster manager, and you've got him. You know, you right in the middle on the tactician thing. Fine.
See, this is what your website does, John. It gets you called out.
So you think Jurgen Klinsmann? You're way far to the right of anybody else so far. There's about 20 plot points here. What is it about Jurgen Klinsmann that makes him an excellent roster manager, John?
What I did as the editor-in-chief and founder of AmericanSoccerNow.com is look for ways to provoke responses.
Oh, no.
So mission accomplished. I appreciate you. Well, first of all, you know, I think this is case in point why the site needs to exist, because it creates a great forum for chatter, for conversation, for disagreement, and hopefully civil disagreement. I do not encourage, you know, I just believe people should make comments, but they should only say things online that they would say to someone's face. And that's the spirit that the site was created in, and the spirit that I hope it continues in. But yes, I think I probably was a little bit provocative, but I'm trying to make sure that no one misses our launch, and I think it's going pretty well so far. People are going to take notice.
John's comment: great with player selection, but doesn't make good adjustments. That's his comment on that on that spot. Here's mine, just for the record. I've got that's John Arnold. Excuse me. Usually chooses good players, but struggles with game-to-game tactical planning. That's my comment right there. Everybody, you go and you hover over the plot point, and boom, you got a comment. Here's our friend. Go ahead. I just want to do this one. A friend from Free Beer Movement, Dan Wiersma. Players like Boyd, Johnson, Zusi, and the like are fresh air, but JK sticks too often to his script in-game. Needs to respond better when clearly Plan A isn't working, especially in CONCACAF qualifying. Think it's hard there? Try Brazil in 2014. So you've got a chance to rate Jurgen Klinsmann, which I think is fantastic. I mean, it's not an approval rating necessarily. It's actually more illustrative of that, of where people's opinions on him are. And you get to put your comment in, and I'm guessing that in very short order, this is going to be completely filled. In fact, if I hit refresh right now, John, there's probably going to be at least 50, right? 50 new ones, I would imagine.
Well, here's the thing. I love that John took into account the fact that people like to troll, because like on your starting 11, when you put your starting 11 out there, other people can comment on my starting 11 and tell me why I suck.
Right. Well, I
mean, and a little bit of that's good. I mean, I don't want to be
without a doubt,
but at the same time, we want to create an environment where people. I mean, the site is not just it's not just lip service. We are truly creating a thing where the fan has a lot of power, and they have a lot of authority to create content and share it and what have you. So I'm hopeful that there'll be a positive spirit of like, you know what, that's an idiotic lineup. You know, one of the guys, one of my tech developers created a lineup alphabetically just to test the service, and we decided to leave it on because, you know what, Josie Altidore in goal, you know, it's worth a shot, I suppose. But the idea is really to create buzz, create chatter, and give the, you know, empower the fan. I feel the fans are truly feel sort of disenfranchised to a large degree, and we're trying to change that conversation, and hopefully that's what the site's all about.
You talk about interactivity, and you're trying to foster interactivity with American Soccer Now. From our friend Sean Rubio on Twitter, it says, with the Create Your Own Starting 11, will there be a place to see what percentage of lineups player X is included in? So if you put a player in your lineup and you want to see how often everybody else has that player in their lineup, is that something you guys can toss? I know we don't be throwing stuff at you here, but is that something you can get in there?
No, please, bring it on. I mean, we've thought through almost every scenario, and that is absolutely one that we've come up with. It really was a case where the technology is pretty sophisticated, and we wanted to launch this before the October 12th and 16th qualifiers. So some of the things got put on the back burner, and that is one of them.
Okay.
We want to have a lot of filters so that we had one in place but we pulled it because it was a little bit buggy of see people who created lineups similar to yours or what have you. So we don't have that, but believe me, we will, because we feel like the starting 11 is huge, especially in the build-up to games like on the 12th and the 16th, and certainly when assuming we make the hex.
Hey, don't do that to me. I'm about to wrap up here. You're going to leave us on a downer. All right. It's AmericanSoccerNow.com. I don't know how much longer John is going to give our listeners the sneak preview, but go check it out while you can. Goes live tomorrow for real, John. Is that right?
You know what? The doors are open now, and we're not closing them. So you can go on the site now. You can tweet. You can Facebook like it. All that kind of stuff. We opened it for this appearance, and we're not going to close it. So go enjoy. All
right, we appreciate the time. American Soccer Now, American Soccer Now, American Soccer. Go bookmark it, put it in your favorites, do whatever you need to do. It's going to be a fantastic resource for American soccer fans. Great way to interact, find amazing just information you didn't even know. That's what I found almost immediately. Thanks for the time, John. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. I look forward to chatting in the future.
Absolutely. So I'm just trying to compose myself.
I mean, it was nice, John, to include you and I in the ASN 100 picking process. I mean, you guys are guys. We talk players all the time, so it was nice to have him kind of choose us to the people that get to take part in it. It's fun. But you did make a good point. You think you can pick 100 guys? You think you can rank 100 guys until you try to do it. 1 through 50. You could rank 1 through 50 pretty easy.
Yes.
You try ranking 80 through 100. It gets really thin.
Yeah, you're trying to find this thing that makes him different from, It's the best soccer show, North American Soccer Network, NESN.TV, NESNradio.com. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I'm Garrett Cleverly, co-host of MLS in 30 with John Arnold. Check us out every Tuesday and Friday as we break down the latest in MLS. We bring in the best beat writers throughout the nation, the guys that know the teams better than the teams know themselves. We also go over the best blank of the week and best blank of the weekends, and we break down the latest hot gossip, which is usually just typical MLS news. Check us out every Tuesday and Friday, only on NASN Radio. Now back to more NASN programming.
Together they formed a band whose names and deeds were to be retold throughout the centuries.
Every week, the Knights of the Supporters Shield, 4 of SB Nation Soccer's best American soccer writers, Jeremiah Oshant, Kevin McCauley, Ryan Rosenblatt, and Zach Woosley, assemble at the round table to analyze the latest news and events from around Major League Soccer. It's informative, it's entertaining, it's biased demagoguery at its best. It's the Knights of the Supporters Shield, and it's only on the North American Soccer Network and NASN Radio.
Soccer Made in Portland airs Tuesdays and Fridays on the North American Soccer Network.
Get your weekly Portland Timbers fix with interviews, analysis, and the latest team news with Kelly McLean and Michael Orr.
Every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, we'll break down the previous weekend's game.
And then again on Friday afternoons, join us at 3:30 p.m. Pacific for the last word before the game as we preview the Timbers' upcoming opponent, including interviews with some of the best soccer journalists from around the country.
That's Soccer Made in Portland, live twice a week at NASN.TV.
Jason and Jared back to close out the best soccer show for Wednesday night, October 3rd, 2012. 33 years ago today, the world was changed forever.
For the better?
Zlatan Ibrahimovic was born. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Walked right into that one. All right, you wanted to touch on. This has been out there in the news for a little while now. Livestrong Sporting Park has been sold out for the Guatemala game on October. What date is that?
Is it 15th? I believe is 15th or 16th. Yeah.
17th. 17th. Well, something like that. I don't know. Whatever it is, middle of October, sold out for that game. Livestrong seems to have all the makings of a fantastic place for the U.S. men's national team to play on a fairly regular basis, Jared.
Here's the thing. I mean, we all know that Columbus Crew Stadium has been a fortress for the U.S. national team when it comes to World Cup qualifying. I'm wondering if Livestrong Park can kind of overtake Columbus Crew for that kind of that I don't know, that title, whereas it offers a lot of the same I would say maybe weather conditions in the right parts of the year. I know Ohio's probably going to be a bit colder than Kansas City, but still I think it offers the demographic positives that Columbus Crew offers as well. But
streams, go ahead. Sorry.
But but it offers a better fan experience.
Right. No, okay. Certainly the stadium is newer and more well appointed and has snazzier technology. In fact, I don't think Crew Stadium has any technology whatsoever. The seats are bleachers, so I mean it doesn't get much more rudimentary than that. So I don't want to anger anybody from Columbus. I mean, obviously there's a debt to be paid to the people of Columbus and that town for hosting the national team and all of the tradition that we've managed to build over the last 12 years in that location. But you're ready to say that if Livestrong Sporting Park with, it's completely enclosed, you're going to sell it out. It's got some of those same advantages as you mentioned. You think it might be ready to shift? I mean, are we talking?
I think for a long time, I think U.S. soccer fans for a long time they've always talked about they want a Wembley. They want a place that is the American soccer palace, And I think the U.S. is so spread out; they're always going to have to play games all over the country. But when it comes to getting that result and having that game and that atmosphere, I think Livestrong Park has the opportunity to perhaps overtake the Columbus Crew Stadium. I think Columbus Crew is always going to still give you a great. There's something about it that seems charmed, that seems talismanic. But I also think that there's something to be said for the USR program needs to move forward to a better environment. I want to say.
I agree that is a step up. I mean, obviously, it's a much better soccer stadium. Crew Stadium is, like I said, fairly rudimentary. There's a stage in it. You're going to get more people into that building, but is it worth the trade-off with Livestrong? You're going to get, like I said, it's completely enclosed. The noise is going to probably be a lot louder. You may get more of, you may get more of a supporter kind of atmosphere than you would at Crew Stadium.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know if you can massage it so that you don't get overrun by Mexico fans if you're hosting Mexico or anybody, Honduras, anybody else, Salvador. If you can keep it so you're not overrun by those fans, it might be worth considering. Area code 706, first phone call of the night. Who's this?
Hey guys, it's Pedro. Big fan.
What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? First of all, happy belated birthday, Jason.
Belated? Today is my birthday.
Oh, today is your birthday?
Yes, today is my birthday.
He means you've already passed away, so you.
Yes.
Well, happy birthday.
Well, thank you, Pedro. I appreciate it.
So I got a question. You guys were talking earlier about players getting rich and whatnot and making it inaccessible. And now you were talking about Sporting Kansas City, and I can make a connection between ownership and players. So basically, if owners want to start opening up their wallets and paying players more, is that good or bad for the league, like you guys are talking about? But then I kind of thought, what about the type of owners that we want in the league? Do we want the Rob Heinemans or the Merrick Paulsons that are very hands-on, very knowledgeable, and willing to spend? Or, you see what's going on in New York, where these guys apparently have no clue how this league works. And, they were talking about it on Seeing Red. I don't even think they probably even know what the playoff systems are. And so now you have these guys who are so removed from the league, but willing to spend money. What do we want? Do we want money, or do we want people that care?
It's going to take all. I think right now, thanks for the call, Pedro. I think right now, Jared, I'm more comfortable with the Heinemans and the Paulsons and the Joe Roths. I'm more comfortable with those guys than I am with the giant corporation Red Bull coming in, buying a team.
Okay, but when you talk about the giant corporation thing, you have to put AG in there as well. AG's done well.
But obviously, it's not black and white with every situation. We're not talking about AG can both be a giant corporation with lots of money and be really invested in American soccer and understand.
I think the best. I think when you see the Heinemans and you see the Paulsons, you think Mark Cuban. That's how I think when I look at those two guys, and I think that's a good level of ownership right there.
Well, no, and obviously you cannot. Yeah, people love or hate Mark Cuban, but he's obviously good for basketball in the sense that he promotes. Exactly. He's out there. He talks a lot. You can dislike the way he talks, just like you can dislike the way Merritt Paulson talks. Merritt Paulson hit with a $25,000. Now, look, he's got the money, but $25,000 fine for Merritt Paulson for confronting match officials and then berating them on Twitter.
Here's what I love about Merritt Paulson, though. In this sense, he's fighting the fight that I wish could be fought. He's doing it. I have no hesitation to say that he would do that exact same thing again. The fine be damned, but someone's got to say it.
This is the funny thing, and you can this is obvious MLS sending a message to anybody that's going to criticize the referees, but especially probably to owners, guys who are part of the team in terms of running the league. Everybody's all in it together. Merritt Paulson, they announced it's a $25,000 fine today. Schellas Hyndman got hit with a fine for criticizing match officials. Guess how much he was fined, Jared?
How much?
I don't know, because MLS did not disclose it. Do you think it was anywhere close to $25,000? Anywhere in
the difference is the difference is they want to show that Merritt Paulson is getting slapped on the wrist.
No, not slapped on. No, for MLS, considering MLS's history, that $25,000 fine is way more than a slap on the wrist. That's a board across the backside. Now, again, Merritt Paulson can afford it, but the point is that we're showing you this big figure. Five figures, which we don't normally fine anybody that amount because of the match official, because we can't have our owners criticize.
I want the home office. I want the league to be the same way I want a ref. If I'm a player in the field, I want them to operate the same way. Consistency. Mm-hmm. If that's going to be a yellow card on that end of the pitch, I want it to be a yellow card on this end of the pitch. That's what I want. And so if you're going to put a fine out here or put a suspension out for if you're the disciplinary committee over here, I want it to be equal. That's all I'm asking. So I know what the playing field is for this league.
Okay, you can't have people criticizing the referees, and you just can't. It's just one of those things. Like, I understand the refs are bad, and everybody's working to fix the refs, and we'll see if it works. But you just can't have people coming out on Twitter and criticize. It just can't happen. And so everybody plays their part.
People can't have an opinion?
No, he can do it. I'm saying the fine is justified. I'm not saying he obviously can speak his mind, but he's going to get hit with the fine. I'm not saying shut up and don't say anything. I'm saying when he's fined, the reaction has to be swift and it has to be strong. And for MLS, this is pretty swift and pretty strong. All right. Look, that's wait. I'm getting a note here. I'm not sure what we're talking about. What am I supposed to be talking about here? Oh, Seattle selling 66,000 seats for their game against the Timbers. I completely ruined my train of thought, Jared. This was nearly a perfect show. Nearly
until you screwed it up.
No, whatever. 66,000 is impressive for that game. Is that max
I believe that is pretty close to max. It's 66 or 69. I think it's something right in that area right there where I think is the max. So I mean, awesome for Seattle. It goes back to what we were talking about before. If Seattle could ever get grass, it could be the Livestrong Park of maybe the U.S. national team, like that place. But
Livestrong Park times 3 or 4. I mean,
it could be, but it's until it has grass, no one's gonna take it really seriously.
Yeah, and they got to figure that out they got to work out with the Seahawks how they can make grass work. Apparently, the can't grow it, whatever. The sunlight doesn't, whatever. Figure it out, and you will get your national team games.
If Qatar can invent clouds, we can find a way to grow grass in Seattle.
Yes, there's that. All right, so look, I'm not the only one who is celebrating a birthday right around this time. It happens to be that the Best Soccer Show launched on the North American Soccer Network about a year ago. It's going to be a year ago next week. So we're going to celebrate it next Wednesday night. I think this is the plan right now. Or if we come up with something else, we'll celebrate it on we'll celebrate a different way. Maybe we'll put out a special podcast. So this is what we're asking. This is what we thought we'd do, Jared. You and I put our heads together. We want people to give us their best moments from the past year, from the first year of the Best Soccer Show. And the way I think this works best is if you call up the phone number while we're not on the air, 201-430-2378, and tell us what your best moment is. Leave it on the voicemail. Got that set up. Let us know what the best moment was. We'll put them all together. I mean, we'll figure out a way to make this kind of a roundup of the past year. We don't want to make a...
You know what this is going to be, though? You know what this is going to be? It's going to be a collection of all the times Jared's messed up. It's going to be he thought that St. Louis was in Florida or something like that. It's going to be all sorts of stuff like that.
Yes, I could do with that. I could absolutely.
It's going to be instead of the best soccer show, it's going to be the worst of Jay Rodius.
Well, that's the best of the best. Well, there's some good. I'm sure there's some good stuff there. I'm sure there's an interview or two people would love to have to remember and go back and listen to again. So,
is there an interview you liked best? Did you like it when we had Howler on? Had that interview? Let us know what you thought was the best kind of thing we did in the last year. That way, first of all, we know what to do more of. We know what's engaging you. Second of all, it kind of lets us celebrate the last year in soccer.
Yeah. So do that, 201-430-2378. Go check us out on Facebook, on Twitter, on iTunes, on all of those places. Get involved with the show. Send us email, show@bestsoccershow.com. And if you don't want to do the voicemail, let us know your best moment in the email. We'll pull that as well. All right, it's going to do it for us tonight, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening. We'll be back on Sunday. Thank you to John Godfrey. Go check out American Soccer Now, everybody. Later.
Three words for you. Treat yourself. 3 words for you. Treat yourself. Treat yourself in 2011.